All right, what's up, y'all? I haven't took off for work yet. I'm uh I'm trying to get some what do I, what do we call this? Study and tape on Kai Asakura, who is going to be in the main event this Saturday against Pantoja, Alex Pantoja, for the 125-pound UFC championship. Was my hair sticking out? What is it? Oh no, this hat has a strap. um they don't let people come over to the UFC and get a debut title shot ever. Um, did they maybe let that happen with Brock Lesnar? I feel like that's only happened with one person, and I think it might have been Brock. Um, I know Anderson Silva got it on his second. Like, but you got to also think about the timeline of when that was. We didn't have the depth and talent of our UFC roster, so it was more likely to happen. Now, in an effort to try to get some tape on Kai Asakura, I'm referencing YouTube. So if you're someone like me who's a nerd with fighting and just likes looking at stuff and thinking about stuff, and not only do I like to try to predict fights for the sake of, I, I don't know, what do we do as humans? Like, I guess it's a way to be right. You know, we're talking with our friends and we pick a fight. I try to make a style and stuff. Like I try to analyze it, then I try to remember my pick, and then when I watch the fight and after it happens, usually a day or two after that, I try to go back and remember why I made my pick and see if it matched up with that. And then I try to learn from that over time. And you end up running into like paradoxes where it's like this factor right here usually leads them to losing, but in 3 fights out of 10, the guy wins. It's weird. But anyways, so I'm watching YouTube and I end up, I should have saved the name. ESPN MMA has a fight up that you can watch for free in its entirety against Hiromasa Ogakubi. Kubo? I don't know, man. It's in Ryzen, which is the Asian organization. I don't remember if that's Japan or China, to be honest with you. But I watched that. And then I watched one or two. They were from random channels of fights he had, and then and it looks like Ryzen itself actually has a fight. Like I'm looking at one right now. Oh, it's against Manuel Cape, and that was early in Kai's career. Kai Asakura lost to Manuel Cape twice, if I recall correctly. Manuel Cape's like he's not bad at all. He's really good, but if you don't know his name by me saying it, that kind of can tell you something. But he's in the UFC now. He's been in the UFC for quite a while. But all right, sorry, I'm getting the rambling. So when watching Kai, and I also watched Tim Welch's breakdown, it looked like Tim Welch made a video, how legit is Kai Asakura? He did it yesterday. I didn't necessarily see every bit of it, but I kind of skimmed through it. There was a little bit of Tim's advice where I was like, that's dumb. Matter of fact, I'm going to go over that. In Ryzen, they fight in a ring, just like in Pride. Ryzen might be the new version of Pride for all I know. Because when I'm watching these, it looks like they're kneeing each other in the head on the ground and throwing kicks to the head on the ground and stuff. So it sounds like Pride, it appears to be like Pride rules, but I can't verify that. But Tim points out, he's like, this is going to be something new for Kai because he's used to fighting in the square. I do not buy into that at fucking all. That is goofy. The only thing that is going to affect the, like where you're fighting, assuming you're on a flat matted surface, is going to be how small or big it is. It's going to be how comfortable you've become in training with your presence or your opponent's presence. That's the only part that's not going to matter. It's not going to matter if there's a corner or if it's doubled in corners because it's an octagon. That part's not going to matter. I want to say when they get too far out of the ropes, the ref pulls them back in this. That's going to be very little factor. A bigger factor would be whether this is in the big cage or the little cage. I'm assuming it is in the big cage, though, because actually, I don't know. I don't even know. It might be in Vegas. Yeah, it is in Vegas. So it might be this. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm assuming it's the big cage, but and if you don't know what I mean by big cage or little cage, it's like when they first started doing stuff at the Apex where they trained for UFC during COVID, they started using the smaller cage because that's what they had in the building, and it takes like 20 feet out of the area. Like if you were to measure the diameter. And that is a huge distance. Like you only have 3 or 4 steps to step back in as compared to having 8 steps where you can step back in. It changes a lot of things. Also the same with shooting a takedown. You shoot them and bump them into the wall real quick as compared to it's going to take twice as much time to bump them into the wall when you're shooting at them. Okay. I do not see Kai Asakura doing well against Pantoja. It does appear the kid has heart. I don't see him giving up quickly. I don't see it being him just getting steamrolled in the first round. But I do think he is going to get outclassed in every single aspect of fighting. And I'm not sure why it's probably because there's not a lot of popularity at 125. And I think the UFC is trying to expand their global fan base. But I was about to say, I'm not sure why the UFC is even giving this guy a title shot. The biggest thing I am seeing is this guy does not have his depth perception. A lot of people call it range. I specifically say depth perception he doesn't have it down. And when I'm watching the fights, it doesn't even look like he finds it in the fight. Like a lot of fighters don't even understand what I'm saying when I talk about depth perception. They'll understand the word range, but they subconsciously, for the first 2 or 3 minutes of each round sometimes, have to get to where they know when I'm standing here, this is when I can reach them. When I'm standing this far from that person, I know I can reach them because they do it once and reach them, and then it registers and locks in. That depth perception it's like a camera picture is the only way I know how to explain it. This young man is not doing that at all. The only time I am seeing him throw lethal strikes is when someone comes in on him and doesn't exit, and he has no exit of his own. He is chasing punches and everything I see. And what I mean by that is like, you'll hear me say, I don't believe in combinations. I don't believe when you are outside each other's range, fighter A, who we'll say is this finger, should throw a 1, 2, 3 while they're going in and just pray that it lands. You should take your step forward and use your eyes to see what is going to land. If you want to just get your arms moving as you're going to force them to try to block and react, that's a great idea. But if you're committing to, I'm just going to throw this 1, 2, 3, what happens when the 1, 2, 3 is done? You're backing out because you weren't focused on your eyes. And the 1, 2, 3 didn't land because you couldn't reach them as you were throwing them. You're throwing them as you're walking and out of range, and he's taking step back. Your opponent is taking step backwards as you are throwing. You're never in range. I am seeing that a lot with this guy from round 1 to round 3 in the fights. That is not going to work against Pantoja. In addition to this, it seems like pressure on him, like striking pressure on him, like if you engage him quickly and you keep your presence close and stay in range, it discombobulates him. It causes him to act chaotic. He'll eat 2 or 3 shots and then land a really good one. You're eating 2 or 3 from the UFC champion. You land that good one. He's not I don't see the level to where that 1 is going to override the 3 he's eaten before. In addition, the talent of the person landing 3 versus 1 in the videos, that guy is not as talented as Pantoja is. His grappling, he out-grappled a couple people I saw, but he did it by counter-grappling. Like they shot a takedown and he twisted and bumped and he would get a sweep or something, but then he sort of just laying on him. I don't see a lot of activity in his grappling. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of disappointed right now because I really thought maybe, I was like, if they're handing the title shot, we might be about to have a huge star. I do not think that's the case at all. I think Pantoja is going to outclass this kid. I don't think it's going to be as bad as like Sean O'Malley versus Chris Mutano or whatever, the guy with the green hair where he just beat the tar. But I think towards the end it's going to start looking like that. I think who is that? We just watched an Asian fighter fight in the main event of a fight night about 3 weeks, really recent, and it didn't go well. I can't remember the guy's name. And I don't remember who he fought. I remember talking to someone online because they were talking about betting on it. And it just didn't go well. The longer the fight went on, the more the class was displayed. But he lasted all the rounds, if I recall correctly. I could see that happening here, but boy, I would not bet on this Asakura guy. And I haven't looked at the odds. I don't know what they are, but that's my thoughts on this fight. I'd say Pantoja, without a doubt. I would say Pantoja is going to win this. And I could see him winning it anywhere. I could see him getting a finish with grappling. I don't think this kid's susceptible to getting knocked out easily, but that doesn't mean Pantoja isn't the one to start it. And I definitely see him losing a decision. But yeah, looks like I'm getting through a bunch of the fights on breakdowns. So this was Kai Asakura and Alex Pantoja. I'm taking Pantoja without a doubt.